And welcome everybody. I'm recording this video as I promised. This is a part of another mini lecture. What I'm going to do is probably for the remainder of the course, when we meet on Monday nights, I'm probably going to go from 6 till about 8:30, and then I'm going to take another period of time, another hour and a half, to cover a case in more in depth, to maybe go into a little more in depth of lecture than I normally would. So I'm sharing my screen with you now. And of course, here we are at the course website. And I want to alert you again to a couple of publications that I did in the first lecture, but I think it's worthwhile for you to take a look at it. And I'm just going to go over here in these general resources. First of all, this is a link to the Harvard Business School, okay, and over to MIT Sloan Management. I really encourage you to go over there. You can go there and browse around for free. You don't have to pay. And we'll see if it's going to load up for us here. It should. Probably just going to take a little bit of time to load up. There it is. And here are some really excellent articles. Some of them deal with IT, some of them don't. And I think it's probably always a good idea to take a look. Here's something just I had not even looked at this, but I think it would be worth your time. As a professional, as an MBA student, someone who's getting the highest degree you can get as a business practitioner, it's my strong belief that you really should make it a point to engage in ongoing professional development even after you finish your degree. And part of that is just self-learning and self-awareness that it comes with perusing publications like the HBR Online or MIT Sloan. And you can see here's an article about artificial intelligence, which I think would be worth your time. And again, here's some more information about how hospitals are changing their technology. So I think really it's in your best interest to take a look. In fact, if you look, they have a topical guide where you can take a look at. And here, of course, is one on technology. So I encourage you to take a look at it. That's Harvard Business School. Another is MIT Sloan Management. Another place, and of course, here's some excellent articles on supply chains. Analytics is a source of business innovation. Again, something quite apropos for a course in information technology. We hear these terms, big data. You hear some terms like hybrid applications, those that give us the best of both worlds, of a database or of a spreadsheet. And so again, I really encourage you, these are resources, you can look at them for free. I would encourage you to go ahead and take a look at them. There are a couple of other sources that are worth your time and energy. And I'm going to open up a new tab here. And we'll close that off. I'll go back here to the school. Back to Canvas. And this is the New York Times Online, and I'm gonna go over there for a second. In fact, I'm a subscriber to the New York Times Online, so I'll just let you sit. Now, look, I understand that for some people this is a liberal publication, quote unquote. Frankly, politics aside, I think they provide as good a coverage of business as anybody, including the Wall Street Journal. They have two sections that I peruse on a regular basis. First is the business section. And you'll notice it's the only major publication that covers mergers and acquisitions. That's in DealBook. Of course, here's on the economy, on markets, And then you'll also find on media, and then there's a link in Business Data Technology. And there are always some great articles in there. It's things to just keep you aware of what's happening out in the world, and to help you improve your ability just to kind of scan the environment, see what's going on out there. Good business owners and good business leaders and executives do this. They're constantly scanning their environment. They're constantly finding out what's going on in other companies, what people are doing. So New York Times business section, deal book, and the technology are, I think, places that you would want to look at to just kind of get a good handle. Of course, I look at them all of the time, because I teach technology courses. And you'll see some things, for example, like Charles Thacker, who designed the early personal computer, cell phone, and just a whole set of some very interesting articles that I think are worth your time to look at. Obviously, another is the Wall Street Journal Online. That's a great publication. Okay. And I'll click on another tab, and I think another excellent publication for you to take a look at is the LA Times. The LA Times has a pretty decent business section. And the navigation to go over to the sections, you'll see here's a politics, sports, entertainment. And you'll see they have a business section and a technology section. I really like the technology section over here. They cover give you a pretty good coverage of they give you pretty good coverage of Silicon Valley. Sometimes you'll see them repeating some of the articles you see over in the New York Times. You can see they will pull some articles like a portal from some other places. The other section I would click on would be, I'd look at the technology section. The entertainment section is also a good one because you can find a lot about what's happening with media and that business. They give a wide-ranging coverage. I think it's well worth your time. We'll see if they're going to load up here for us. And there we are. As you can see, some really good resources for you to take a look at. And we'll close that tab off. I'll come back into the CIS 5203, and I have a couple of other resources for you that I think are quite worth your time, and I want to re-emphasize them again. First of all, are the online business resources at OBU. Okay, this is the Business Resources home. They have all kinds of assistance and help that they can provide you, and I really would encourage you. We even have a chat person come out. I would encourage you to go over to Maybe Learning Center and use those. Of course, if you're writing papers and so forth, that'd be the first place I'd go to do a search to find information. Now, here is a link to the University of Purdue OWL, the Online Writing Lab. It's a fantastic resource. They give you all types of assistance in terms of writing, papers, research papers, grammar and mechanics, style guides. They have APA formatting and style guide. A great resource. I would encourage you to take a look at it. I'll go back home here for a moment. I just want to also make certain that everybody is clear about uh, about navigating um, navigating Canvas. I hadn't really covered it, and I don't know if you get any training or anything like that, an introduction to Canvas. So I'm going to change my settings here for a moment and go to a student view. And you'll see things to do. That's going to be on the right-hand side. And then on the left-hand side, you're going to see various pieces, home, announcements, and you'll always want to check announcements to see if I put something there. Assignments, if there are any discussion boards that have been created. Your grades, people, these are all the people who are enrolled. We'll click on that, you can see. Okay. Any web pages that have been there that have a title. Files. We did that, some of that Monday night where we worked with those 2 files. If you're going to get a file, again, let me repeat, download the file to your desktop, save it to your desktop, and then close it. I tend to rename and then open it back up. It makes it easier to do the upload. Here's the syllabus. Of course, obviously, as I mentioned the other night, it's just not the syllabus. It's also really just a listing of things that are due. The home page for the course is in what they call a module system. Each of these are modules, and then I had them divided by weeks, which is what you're interested in. And we talked about this very, very briefly. Some of the resources are here, and I talked some last week about Gartner and their worldwide spending forecasts. I just got a recent email from them that said IT spending is pretty flat because of the cloud. I think here are some good articles worth taking a look at, measuring the growth of tech tools, the solo growth model. And I think a very important one in terms, 2 of them are what is a business model, and in business models, information technology in the future of the company. These are 2 resources right here I really want to encourage you to take a look at, because I think they'll help put the course into perspective better than just about any other resource you could take a look at. Now, this morning, while I've got you here, I do want to make certain that make certain that you don't miss a lot of the really good information that's there in the Perelson textbook. That's the one that says managing and using information systems, a strategic approach by Perelson and Saunders. I usually refer to it as the Perelson text, 4th edition. And I just would want to encourage you, take a look at the introduction, because it has some excellent dialogue for you in terms of why should a manager care about IT. And the key part of this course is to give you some rudimentary understanding of information technology, but more importantly, to understand its value, a strategic value, and so that when you interact with people who are IT vendors or your internal employees, if you have them, that you interact with them on an intelligent basis, and I really think that's a good point. I don't believe that I've ever downloaded or have in the files here some PowerPoints. There are PowerPoints that go with the course. And let me check. Let's check right now. Of course, where would we go? Well, it's simple. I'm just going to scroll back up, and I'll go to the files, and I'll see if I've got anything there. I've got some notes. And doesn't look like I do. I've got some keys to some old exams. and a record about Zoom recording. So nothing there, but I did want to make sure that I emphasize those resources. Another good resource for you is I'll find that over here. And let me pop through here for just a minute. When we get ready to work on the database cases, we'll take a look at Northwind Traders. That'll be a case that we'll take a look at. It's a file. Then if I have another file that explains Northwind Traders. Northwind Traders is a model or a try it before you buy it kind of database set up by Microsoft, and we'll talk about that when we get to looking at databases. And I also want to make sure that you take a look at the ethics code for the college. Make sure you look at it. And I have a course repository. I'm gonna click on it for a moment. Okay. It'll take you to a repository that has all kinds of information, and I'll maneuver this down where you can see this is a repository. And you click. And I have all types of files in here, PowerPoints. I have links to articles and websites I think are very, very interesting. So again, as part of your ongoing professional development, I encourage you, come over and take a look. Here's a great article on 3D printing. What does that mean? Here's one on avatars, how those are kind of having an impact. This talks about an app that pushes bargains. It's one of these IoT kinds of things, how retailing is being changed. And an article on IT outsourcing. There's just a whole collection of things here for you. Now, some of these are files that we'll be working with, but many of these, and they are dated, some of them, as you can tell, but they're classic or I think seminal types of materials that you ought to take a look at. Again, this is just is a matter of your professional development. You're continuing to look to find out beyond just the textbook, what is it that's going on out there in the world. And I've given you some good places to look. The LA Times, its business section and its technology section. Same thing with the New York Times, its business and its technology section. OWL, as far as doing your schoolwork. I'd say another would be Wired magazine. And let me open a new tab here for a minute. We'll look at Wired, because I think that's one that'll kind of give you a handle on what's happening in IT and technology. Of course, they have their sections. Business, and that would be the section you'd be the most interested in, probably. And a lot right now on Uber and their experience. This, of course, is really more geared towards people who are work in the technology field, but I think it's good for general managers to take a look at them as well. So Wired magazine is another one of those great places to take a look. I'm going to show you a couple of others that I think are useful, and we'll go back over here to the portal. Doing a little maneuvering around here. I'll close that off, and I think some other websites on infographics. There's one of those, and Tableau, and I'll do a quick search here. And here are a whole series of websites on infographics. and helps and aids on creating charts and using them. Now, I'm kind of old school in the sense that I believe that the simpler the better, but I certainly would encourage you to take a look at some of the information that's out there. I have in week 2, you notice in week 1, we talked a lot about, and that's in your readings. It was in the exam, chapter 1 and the intro. What's the value of IT? And as I had spoken to you in the course, IT is decision-centric. It helps us make decisions. And one of the other things that IT does is it provides us some alternatives in business models. And I talked about that. For example, how eBay is really an auction, serves as a financial intermediary. Without IT, that wouldn't be possible. And you see now things like these virtual money, for example, Bitcoin is one of those ways that technology is transforming companies, certainly in terms of their business models. And I talked about that at some length and talking about what is a business model. In fact, that's in the intro slide. And we'll talk some more about those notions. But I just want to make sure that you're on top of how to navigate and that you see how things are organized at the website. And of course, here's an overview on BI. And look, a lot of times at the start of the class, I'm going to just spend some time and just a little bit short time. But I really encourage you to go over and take a look at these resources so you can get an idea of some of the big things going on. And here I emphasized IT, business models, but also some tools that are there. And the notion that IT is designed to help us make decisions. So it's help us take data, transform them into information, and information that we can make a decision with, information that's understandable. And so that's why I spent quite a bit of time, in fact, talking about, when we did the case, visualizing the data and all that business. Of course, this week, this is the week of 6/12, and I had a number of resources. Again, I try to provide you some classic as well as very contemporary or apt to the moment. And here is, I mentioned, John Snow, who really is the first person we know who utilized data analysis and then put it into a graphic or visual basis. He took a map of the city of London and started putting marks where the cholera, people were getting ill from cholera, and he helped identify the source, which was a water well that had a bad pump. Had to do some other things to discover that, but it's for that first example. Then here's an article by Anscombe, and of course we talked about Anscombe's quartet, the idea that we can have sets of data that have the same statistical properties, the same sum, standard deviation, the same average, but they're distributed differently, and how important it is. And one of the things in Anscombe's article from statistician, statistic, I think it's statistic or statistician, it's from 1973. Let me link on it for a minute. I'm sitting here stammering around like an idiot. I can just open up the article. Pardon me. It's from the American Statistician. As you can tell, it's February 1973, and I am going to tell you, I'm going to date myself. I studied this article and read it. It was part of my curriculum when I was a graduate student taking my very first statistics course. And what basically Anscombe says is we have the ability to process all this information, but we've got to keep up with the ability to visualize it, put it into a visual format in a way that people can understand. And that's why Anscombe, of course, is quartet. This article is, of course, the full Monty or the full-blown explanation, but I also provided you a link. And I'll try to provide you things like these that are classic sources. And then the solo growth model, Stephen Few, his books and bio over at Amazon, Stephen Few, his best well-known work is Show Me the Numbers. I use it in their graduate business problem analysis class as a textbook to get students to understand that just because people put something in a data table, or because they visualize it, you need to make sure, one, it's valid. Is it the right data? Is it handled properly? And two, is it reliable? That is, can I actually do something with this replicable basis? In other words, do I have information that leads me to knowledge? Then a look at an example of what's going on with big data. You hear a lot of terms about that, and I try to show you a practical application about that. And then I would encourage you to go over and explore ArcGIS by Esri, and I had that there for you. And of course, the Esri zip code lookup, which is a fantastic tool. I'm going to show you another one, and this is called Batch Geo. I'll go there, and here's a now. Here's the deal. If you want to, you can create a map using spreadsheet data, using data from Excel. All you have to have is the address, the street, the city, the zip, and it will match that, and it will map those data for you. And this is a free service. And as they show you, just create the map. You open your spreadsheet, you click it, copy everything, you open your web browser, you punch it in there, and they even provide you a nice short video on making your map and how to share it. It's just a fantastic product. It's free. And I think I would be remiss if I were not to tell you that right now we're in a golden age of maps, cartography, and map making, because folks who are utilizing geospatial intelligence and geospatial tools understand that a map can be used just like a database. It can be layered, and then it can be queried, and you can drill down or drill up. So I really encourage you to take a look at that. Okay, so I'll close that off there. And again, some of the navigational properties over here. Again, here's the calendar. What's going on? What is today? What you might have due. If you have any inbox. And Canvas also has some nice help features. An online student resource information. You can ask me a question, report a problem, submit a feature idea. And again, I think Canvas is fairly pretty and has some nice features. Of course, I'm looking over here. I can see what's coming up, what's been due, and I can click on view the course stream, how many announcements, any discussions, what's going on in the course, basically what types of things are being created and being done. I'm going to click on the grade book, okay, and you'll be able to see the grades, and I'm known as test student. I like that. And you can arrange it by assignment group, due date, module, or title. You probably will want to stick with due date. That was my dog again. Okay, and you can click to show all the details and all that business. Well, that's pretty much it in terms of this short little video recording. And this is just a follow-up to 612. Here in a few hours or so, I'm going to post a more detailed analysis of Salon, and we'll go through that and how it's put together, and we'll talk about that. So have a good one. I look forward to seeing all of you next Monday. And don't forget, next Monday will be the same thing. I will have live meetings set up, so if you want to attend, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I'll also do another follow-up little lecturette like this one, and then we'll cover, which will be recorded, and then I'll also record going through the case study by itself. So you can attend the class if you want to, look at the videos to reinforce what we've done, and so forth. So I appreciate your time, and I'm going to stop the recording and then end the meeting. Have a good one.